Today I'm going to be talking about the use of INTELLO for internal moisture management in schools. That's pretty important because, as we know, schools are full of hundreds of school kids, especially after lunchtime, running around the fields, sweaty and breathing and creating lots of internal moisture. This can have consequences for the building envelope and the durability and the health of the building envelope. So the project I'd like to talk to you today about where INTELLO was used was the Pinehurst School Library. It was built back in 2019, and all the main key players there, as you can see on the screen. I worked quite closely with the architect and the construction company and the installer, INTELLO Solutions Limited, on the detailing and installation of the product into this building. So the INTELLO was used throughout the ceiling of the main school library building here. So this is just a shot during the installation of the INTELLO. It was installed to the underside of steel, which actually had a thermal break underneath of it. You might have seen in other slides earlier in this presentation, in this event, that the INTELLO is usually staple fixed. In this case, that couldn't be done because it was onto thermally broken steel. So we came up with a solution between the installer, the architect and myself. We came up with the detail of fixing with screws with large washers, which was further supported by strapping as well. So that was nicely fixed and held the INTELLO in place. So it's always important to consider, when you're putting a layer like this into a job, actually how it's going to be held in place, the realities of building it at the time. And you can see there the tape was partly installed in places. Tape is a pretty important part of making the layer continuous throughout the build, as is making sure that it's continuous around the perimeter of the building and well connected to other parts of the building envelopes. It's a functioning layer. Obviously, INTELLO, as we know, is an air and vapor control membrane, so it needs to be continuous to actually function as such. So in this slide, just showing some of the complexities around installing INTELLO in and around plant and equipment. This is why careful consideration and coordination with plant and services is needed at both the design stage and the installation, the construction stage, to ensure that this layer can be installed continuously. So trying to minimize penetrations through this layer is pretty important so that it can actually function correctly. It's always hard getting around some big plant and equipment when that's already in place. Installer did a really good job here, getting around some of these things which were installed already. So there was, in some instances, air conditioning pipes and things like that, which had to loop in and out of the INTELLO. It probably wouldn't have been the case if the INTELLO was installed first, but in this case, those penetrations were well sealed by Aerosol and Viscon fibre, and Viscon itself is a paint or spray-on seal which can be applied in conjunction with the INTELLO system. So it works well to seal up some of those tricky junctions that tape or the likes of the Rowflex grommets can't seal by themselves. So the finished product looks great, as you'd expect. Beautiful ceiling there with lighting and all the services nicely tucked in. But it's great to know that behind the scenes there's a functioning layer protecting the building structure from mold growth, from interstitial condensation and any other moisture problem that might be apparent without these layers in place. And also, obviously, making the construction more airtight helps with the energy efficiency of the building and helps make the ventilation, heating and cooling much more efficient and effective. Since the project was built, the Ministry of Education have updated their design guidance, which you'll see, some of you will be familiar with this document. It was released in September last year, giving a couple of examples here of roof systems. For warm roofs on steel frame is the preference. For timber frame buildings, the cold roof systems, as we see typically with a truss roof in a house, is an option, and this is also a good option for renovated school buildings as well. And you can see the vapor control layer there as a recommendation as part of that system. As we know, INTELLO is a vapor control layer, so it can be used on any new or renovated school building which meets these criteria of a cold timber roof structure. And these details are backed up by the details on our website. You'll see there circled a couple of instances where INTELLO is included as part of the detail, and one showing there a vented feet. Ventilation is pretty important in conjunction with a truss roof where you've got a large cold body of air on the outside of the installation. Obviously different if it's a skillion roof, but there's plenty of assistance from our website with regards to details, instructions, and also feel free to pick up the phone and give us a call or send us an email for some design guidance or reviewing of plans through the design stage.